Hi, and welcome to Habits for Humans, the podcast that explores what makes people tick and how to program this brain of ours. And today we're going to be talking about this body of ours as well to do what we want it to do. I'm your host, Kim Flynn, and today we're going to talk to a delightful woman that I've actually known for years, but known of and been acquaintances of. But recently we've had some really good conversations as I was a guest on her podcast. And this woman is amazing. If you're looking for, I don't know, just someone to look up to, Mary Crafts is that person. So I'm so delighted to introduce her to you. She's going to talk today about how she's lost 100 pounds. And that to me is very cool, but not like the gist of it. Like the gist of it is, how do you not only lose 100 pounds, but you change your entire lifestyle and you maintain that lifestyle for many years? Like you essentially become someone new. And so that's what I want to talk about, Mary, today. 100 pounds, great, awesome, lovely. How do you become someone new? That's what I'm really interested in. So we've got giveaways for our listeners at the end. If you like free stuff, stay tuned until the end. And first of all, a word from our sponsor. Habits for Humans is brought to you by RetreatWorks. We train life coaches and business coaches and wellness business owners how to build a retreat in 5 days and bring in $50K per retreat while having more client impact. So stay tuned about how you can get involved if you are a coach or a wellness business owner in that program. Mary, welcome so much. Let me introduce you with your official bio. Mary Crafts is quite simply a living legend. Who has that in their bio? Mary does. She's quite simply a living legend. From humble beginnings and dire circumstances, she has invested blood, sweat, and countless tears into building what would become the most celebrated catering company in Utah. That multi-million empire became the launching pad for so much more. Today, Mary has handed the reins of her catering empire to incredibly gifted children who have taken her company to the next level, while Mary turns her attention to helping others build their dreams. Mary has a podcast. I just read a magazine the other day and I was like, oh, here's an article by Mary that you do on a regular basis. She's on the boards of a bunch of different companies. Mary, welcome, living legend. How are you doing today?
Kim, what a delight to be with you. And you are absolutely right. We've known each other for decades, but we haven't really connected on that soul to soul, face to face level until recently. And I love what you're doing. In fact, I probably should sign up for what you're doing, even though I don't want to run retreats at my age. I love to speak and I love to, but I just not ready to take on that level of business commitment of doing an actual retreat and being responsible for 50 people. But it's been a journey for me. And at this summer, in just a couple months, I turned 70. And for me, that is, it almost brings tears to my eyes because I was someone for so many years who wondered if I would get to 50, who wondered if I would get to 60. And now I'm looking at 105 straight ahead, and then I'm going to have an option to renew. So let's see what happens then. So it's been a life transformation. You mentioned that how I became a different person. So I want to go back and maybe start there because I don't believe that I have become a different person. I truly believe I am the essence of who I have always been. Like I brought a bunch of stuff with me when I got here. I'm going to take a bunch of stuff with me when I leave. Even if you don't believe in the before and the after, even if you believe in just now, the things that I had as my essence at birth, for me, it was more a discovery process of who am I, not who am I going to create. And getting rid of all the things that I learned, isn't that the craziest thing, Kim, that we have learned this behavior from 0 through 7 or 8, somewhere in there. And those years are creating for many people the rest of their life. If we don't go back and look at those things we learned, whether they were healthy or not, because our brain at that point isn't developed enough. We don't have a complete cortex. And so the part of the brain that's using its oomph right then is the part that can't discern a lie from truth. So in those early years, if you were shamed, or if you were continually told things like, what's wrong with you? Or why can't you do this? Or Your sister doesn't have that problem, or whatever it is that you're told in those early years, your brain lays it down as truth. So we have to go back and unpack that and say, wait a minute, that was not a truth. There was nothing wrong with me. I am a beautiful individual. So I'm going to tell you something now that just happened to me last week, and then we'll go back and unpack the rest. But just last week, I was listening to a podcast by Oprah Winfrey. I'm standing in front of my mirror, getting dressed. Every day, I have little Post-it notes that I read every morning, self-affirmations. And the one I put up most recently is, I am the mountain. And not conquering the mountain, but I am the mountain. And so I was looking at around, and Oprah came on, and she was talking about that she truly loves who she is at this moment in time. And I looked in the mirror and I said, I do too. I truly can say I stand here and I love this person. Then she went on to say, and I loved the person that I was at age 30. And I've learned to love the person I was at age 40. And I've learned to, and I thought for just, I actually literally put my hands up and I went, well, wait, no, I love this person today and totally love who I have just unfolded. But you want me to go back and love that person who weighed 284 pounds? You want me to love that person that lived in Victimville? You want me to love that person that was being physically, emotionally, and verbally abused and took it? No, I love this person, not that person. And after the podcast was over, I sat down on the chair in my bedroom and just sat there. And I thought, this is another piece for you, Mary. This is another piece for me to unpack. And so I sat there long enough, Kim, to wrap my arms around myself and just begin to rock myself and close my eyes and envision that woman who is me and everything she endured, all the sadness, all the heartache, and be able to say to her, thank you. Thank you for being that woman that endured those things and learned the lessons, that had the strength and the resilience to stick it out and to learn the lessons. Without you, I wouldn't be me. And to see that wholeness, not as two separate beings, for the first time, I began to see we're not two separate beings. That person was me. And she was strong enough to bring me to today. And it really has shifted my thinking in the last month. So that thing about you can't teach old dog new tricks, no, don't just forget about that. It's the kind of thing I say, I've said at the end of my book, I say at the end of every podcast, two things that I want every person to remember. It's never too late and nothing is impossible.
Wow. Living legend. Here she is right here. Two things I have to comment on. So, first of all, as a woman, and I'm 47, I look around and I think people who are younger than I am are looking for the same thing. We're looking for someone who is one step up from us, right? We're looking for, okay, what does the next level of my life, what could that look like? And Mary, you're gonna make me all teary here, but how amazing that you are putting yourself in the spotlight and saying, this is what 70 could look like. Like, how inspiring is that? We do not have enough women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s out there and saying, you actually have a role model, you have mentors. So that's pretty inspiring. So, first of all, thank you for doing the hard work to put yourself out there. That's really appreciated. When I look at you and say, first of all, is that what 70 looks like? Because damn girl. Sign me up for 70, first of all. And then just to hear that we have such a culture of young, and you think, oh, when you're past 25, you're past your prime as a woman, because everything in our culture is you have to be young. And just hearing from you, from Oprah, as a common Oprah message as well, is it only gets better. It keeps getting better. You embrace the more and more growth that you have. And I think that's a message that we really, as women, need to promote. It's not about being 25. Your peak is now 70 for you. So that's really inspiring to me. The second big takeaway from just listening to you is I think what you're talking about is integrating shadow work, right? Like we're talking about the darker sides of ourselves that we don't want to look at. And rather than shaming that 284-pound woman and saying you're terrible, we are embracing her. Will you talk to me, take us all the way back to the moment when you decided it's time for a change in my life? And I actually really appreciate that you're not changing who you are. You're just uncovering the piece of who you really are. Will you take us back to that moment?
Yes, for me, I've always felt that there was some traumatic thing that happened to me, probably sexually, between the ages of 2 and 4. I'm not quite sure. I've gone back and tried to do work with that, and I'm aware that there was something, but what it is not within my consciousness at this point. You like how I said that at this point? It still may be, but it also came to the realization that it no longer mattered. What I'm doing today is what matters. And I became an overweight child at somewhere around between the ages 4 and 5 and struggled with that my entire life. And I actually had lost a bunch of weight on a program just before I got married. And then I got married, but then immediately after my first child, I began to gain it back. And I was the definition of what a yo-yo person looked like. Something new would come out, the cabbage stew diet. Oh, yes. And you'd eat that cabbage stew and you'd drop weight for 3 days. And finally, if you show me another piece of cabbage, I'm going to throw up. Okay. And all those different things. I did the fen diet when that was popular and I lost a bunch of weight. But the moment you went off the fen, then you were back up. And so this is what my life was like. In the meanwhile, I had drawn into my life a very abusive relationship that was physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive. He was bipolar. He had a rage disorder, a paranoia disorder. And then when I finally divorced him at age 55, it was undeniable that he was also gay. So this is not a criticism of him. If you notice, what I said was that I drew into my life. And I think that's one of the reasons I emerged and could emerge triumphant, is because at every step, I was walking more and closer into accountability. And I was packing my bags, leaving Victimville. There were so many things I could look back and say, I was that because of, or I couldn't do this because of this, or I was running my own company and I couldn't possibly have time to work out or be fit. I just had to grab food as I went. Working at it, and you have a catering company, trust me, you're not grabbing always the best foods. And how could I have time to sleep, let alone go to the gym? 1 year of excuse after another year of excuse. Finally, at age 50, I had a 50th birthday party. And this is back when there weren't cell phones. You didn't have your photos instantly. You had to send them into Kmart and then go pick them up a week later. I sound really old, don't I? Okay. But a week later, I went and picked up those photos and I sat in the parking lot of Kmart. And as I looked through those photos, the tears just came. And I thought, who is this woman at 284 pounds? I never thought this is where I'd be. Somehow I thought I would have handled it by now. And I thought for just a moment, okay, that's it. I'm going to have weight loss surgery. And for me, now, and I'm not talking this is for everyone, but for me, I realized if I did that, I was going to be doing the same thing I had done with every other diet. Shortcut the problem. Try and rewire and find an easier way. When the actual essence of the problem lied in here. It laid inside of me, in my brain. Those programming things that I was not enough, my fear of everything physical, my fear of failure, my fear of being rejected, of being unlovable, all those issues were in my brain. And I was simply self-fulfilling them. If I had weight loss surgery, that'd be great. I'd probably lose, but it would be right back. I knew I had to deal with me. And so I began making lists of fears because I realized that my entire life and everything in it was based. This is part of the reason I was such an amazing caterer. I was so afraid of failing so afraid of disappointing someone, so afraid of being rejected that I answered every phone call, even in the middle of the night. Somebody needs something, I would just like jump in my car and run. I would leave my children in the care of my husband, who I knew was not the best caregiver, just to keep from failing and being rejected by my clients. And I was like, this is the piece I need to work on. So as I would write down these fears, and then sometimes I would, whenever a thought would come to me of, oh, I think I need to stop and get a candy bar. Trust me, that thought was with me every day. I need to stop and get a candy bar. You have to have those thoughts to get to 284 pounds. I need a dozen donuts. You know what I mean? And when I would think that, I'd think, wait, okay, there was the thought to put food in my mouth. What was happening in my life right before that thought came to me? And as I began to see these patterns, they were oftentimes when I was in the car and hiding by myself. They were also they were my preemptive soothing to going into stressful situations. If I was coming home to my husband, if I was going to see a client or going to a networking meeting where the fear of being rejected was so huge in me. They should have given me an Academy Award. I'm not kidding you. I feel like I am the best actress in the entire world. For decades, people believed that I was fat, but that's okay. Who can trust a skinny shelf? And that Mary was just always achieving and doing all these things. And I was the best actress out there. But when I made the commitment to move from a fear-based life to a love-based life, things changed. And I began to see my motivations shift from doing things out of fear. But what if you did them out of love? And the first place I had to start loving was self.
I'm just taking notes, and you know how every once in a while, when you're listening to a really good speaker, you'd go into this hypnotic state of just, I'm with you, I'm here. That's where I am right now. I'm totally hypnotized by you. So, talk to me about how specifically you move from fear-based to love-based, because it sounds lovely. Give me some details on that.
I got the details for you. First of all, the first step, I don't know the entire pathway, but that's okay. I am long ways down the path now toward a love-based life. And I'm not sure how the rest of the path looks, but I do know how this part of the path looks. And the first step on the path is vulnerability. When I stepped into being willing to actually admit to myself where the problems were and to allow others to see them as well, to stop hiding. I've recently released a book, and my first book, and my favorite piece in that is when I say, the healing starts when the hiding stops. And if you are hiding, you are not healing. I became aware of all the things I was hiding. I'm still becoming aware. It's crazy with my partner, John, and I feel like I would share with him anything. But then, of course, I'll be doing something, and because I'm so tuned into it now, I'll think, oh, I don't want John to know that. I'm like, what? As soon as John gets here today, you're going to share this with him. You're going to step into vulnerability. And what we learn, and this is the most exciting piece, Kim, is what we learn is that those things we have thought we've needed to hide are the very things that people embrace about you. They embrace when you're real. They embrace when you're authentic. And you might be saying the same words, but they're a different feeling. And people get it. We are emotionally smart people. We tune in with this intuition to people. And we know when they're being genuine. And when I actually began to share my story and open up, and I actually began to talk about my marriage, my struggles with my children, my fears of not being a good mom, my fears of being inadequate and never enough, I was embraced by people. And they love to say, I thought I was the only one. When you realize in this life that you're not the only one, in fact, you're not the only one, you're everyone. then you have this huge support group around you. Yes, losing weight was not the easiest task, but it also was not the most difficult. The most difficult was facing me. And I found the weight just did its own thing. I instituted 2 techniques right from the get-go, actually 3. And those techniques stayed with me through the entire weight loss of 140 pounds. I now weigh 140. I want to weigh 139, but that's just a little thing. Small thing, right? 139. I guess it's because I want to be able to put that 3 down. And I haven't put that 3 down since, guess what? I weighed 140 pounds when I was 9 years old. So I haven't been able to put that down. So this next week, my partner and I, John, we're going on a vacation to Arizona, and we're going to do golf. And we're going to do hiking in the morning and golf in the afternoon. And I told John, no wine, nothing. We're going to eat super clean. I'm going to come back and be 139. But I'm also very happy with where I am. I go to so these are my 3 things. I want to tell them to you. So people who are listening think, that's all good. She said, but what did you actually do? You didn't just magically, this was not like the Music Man where you could think music and then play it. That didn't work. You could think you were losing weight and then didn't. So I did 3 things. The one is super easy, which is just don't drink calories. Juice, shakes, coffee full of cream and sugar and everything else we want to dump in there, the double caramel latte, blah, blah, blah. Juice is one of the biggest culprits. We think we're being healthy. Just drink water. Water is the lifeblood of our bodies, and we flush toxin after toxin when we can drink water. That was a huge shift to me because I was a double Diet Coke drinker. I would drive up to my favorite gas station and they would look out. They wouldn't even wait for me. They just start filling. Do you know what I mean? Because they knew I was a double Coke. And if ever at work I was getting stressed and I started getting and yelling out orders to people, and people were like, get her a Diet Coke. And it was just the act of sucking on that straw that would begin to calm me. I found I can calm myself in other ways. Don't drink calories. The second one was amazingly easy for me, even though I had never stepped a foot in a gym in my life, never done anything physical. I had this tape in my brain that said, you're uncoordinated and you can't do things physical. Now, at my age, and I wear my tank top, I'm the strongest woman at my gym. I hiked Kilimanjaro just before I turned 66. I can do physical. I'm learning golf, for crying out loud. I learned pickleball last year. So going and having physical activity every day, I don't care what it is. This idea that you need to be physical and go to the gym 3 times a week, I don't know who started that, but that's a bunch of BS. You need to be physical. I need to be physical in my body every single day. And maybe it's just choosing, I'm going to go up and down the stairs in my house 10 times up and down. Maybe it's I'm just going to do some yoga here on my floor. Maybe it's I'm going to go and I'm going to burn 400 calories in 30 minutes on the treadmill. Maybe I'm going to pump some iron. I love to pump iron now, can I just tell you? So being physical every day, I made that commitment to myself. Now, the last one, I feel, was the biggest key to my weight loss journey. I made a commitment to myself. And let me just tell you, this is the difference between a goal and a commitment. I had set so many weight loss goals and eating goals in my entire life. But when I finally decided to do this, I made a promise to myself. A goal you can break and come back. How many times have we done that? Set a new goal, do it. But when you promise yourself, when I promised myself that I was going to love myself and embrace myself like I had never done before, that's different. And then if I did step out of alignment, I was like, that's out of alignment for who I am. And then you could quickly pull yourself back in. So I made a commitment to myself that at least through the initial weight loss journey part of this, through what I call the active weight loss part, and that lasted 6 years for me to lose this weight. I did not eat after 5. And that is one of the biggest things when I see people who are struggling with weight and they're at the gym and they're wanting to get through 15 minutes on the treadmill. Hi, that was me 19 years ago. I know what that's, and I see that big belly fat. I know immediately what one of their issues is. They're eating late. And you can talk to any person who knows, whether it's a medical doctor or a health person, will tell you that your body needs to rest. When you go to bed at night, your body needs to be doing what it should do, clear the lymphatic system, heal any parts of you that are not working quite right. It does not want to digest food. So instead of using the energy to do all the things it's supposed to be doing, it pulls from your all those fat stores you have, it pulls from different things. It pulls from what's in your stomach and in your intestines. So I usually went to bed around 10. I stopped eating at 5. So I had 5 hours to clear my stomach and that digestive process. I began to sleep better. I began to wake up with more energy. I began to see the weight drop off. People say to me, what if I get hungry in the night? I can't go to bed hungry. You know what? For probably the first 3 to 5 days, you're going to think that. But then when you start seeing that you step on the scale in the morning and you're a half pound lighter, day after day, and yes, we all hit plateaus. That's all right. What works? Don't give up. Keep going. And eventually, you reach your goal. You're under 200 pounds. You're under 150, and then you're there.
What's so powerful about this, Mary, as you probably have been told a million times, is you did not buy into the quick fix diet. I'm going to do this quickly. 6 years. You said this has taken me 50 years to get here.
Yeah.
Not going to be a quick fix. 6 years. And what I also love is it's not a strict regimented, I'm going to have chicken and broccoli. And you didn't even pay attention to what you're eating. You're just like, no, I'm just going to not eat at night and I'm going to fiercely love myself. That's some powerful stuff. What do you say to the person who's, yeah, love myself, whatever, I'll work on that, but I just want to drop the weight?
You can certainly do that. That's within your realm of possibility. I'll love you regardless because I did that. I know. But permanent weight loss has to be inside. Your mind has to begin to see you as this ideal person that you have always dreamed you were. And when I say ideal, that doesn't mean perfect, because I'm not talking about perfection here. I'm a recovered perfectionist. And I always say perfectionism will kill you, but excellence will inspire you every day of your life. All I ask of myself, and all anyone should ask of themselves, is that they bring their best every day. And when I'm at the gym and I'm thinking, dang, I'm exhausted today. No wonder, because I did this. And I'm like, okay, I think I'll just cut this short. I ask myself at that moment, is this your very best? Are you leaving anything on the table? And suddenly my energy level skyrockets and I take off. These aren't from thinking about, oh, I'm only 2 pounds away from my goal. I don't think about my weight at those moments. I think about what I've promised myself. And you can focus on weight loss all you want. And I will tell you, there are other things I did along the way. I began to eliminate poison from my diet, poison being refined carbohydrates, refined sugars, white bread, white pasta, white rice. I just avoid white, basically. I do those things. I increased what I ate in terms of fresh vegetables, and I put fresh spinach and chia seeds in anything. Oh, that could use chia seeds. And, oh, that needs to have a little fresh spinach in it. So it's, yes, you become more aware of those things. And you do what feels good in your body. I think about how I feel when I eat a bowl of ice cream versus how I feel if I have, I start with a little bit of avocado oil, throw in some spinach and toss that up. And then I throw in some other little wonderful things. And then I crack a couple scrambled eggs in there and I stir it all together and I sprinkle a little cheese on top. It's warm, it's filling, it's loving. And then of course, when I serve it, I put on top, what? Chia seeds.
So it sounds like your philosophy is don't start with the prescriptive, what should I eat and how, and oh, I need to change this to this, and I need to start adding broccoli, I need to start adding chia seeds. Ignore all that garbage. That will come naturally as you start taking care of yourself, right? And then as you start listening to your body, you're like, oh no, I actually really do feel good when I eat spinach and I eat chia seeds. So it's reversed. It's start taking the steps now, and then eventually the healthier eating joins me. Is that right?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of people who are hoping today for a quick fix from me. Gee, how did she lose 140 pounds? I want to do that. It's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix to fix yourself permanently. I've been 19 years now. Do you know how that changes my trajectory? I can't tell you how excited I am to get out of bed in the morning now. I would like everybody to start right there. When you go to bed at night, lay down and just listen to your body. Lay there for just a moment. Feel what tensions you need to release. Think through where those tensions came from. What things was I afraid of today? What things did I push through and I can pat myself on the back? And what things do I want to bring part to my focus tomorrow? And just let it go at night and rest deeply. And when you wake in the morning, I lay there for just a minute thinking about what my day was going to be like, is going to be like. Fill myself with gratitude that I had such a wonderful night's sleep. Or if I didn't, I say, I'm so grateful that tonight I'm going to have a wonderful night's sleep. I'm always grateful. If I didn't already have it, then I'm grateful what's coming. If I went to bed and I wasn't feeling well and I was coughing or had a stuffy nose, I would say, I am so grateful that I'm going to feel better in the morning. And so you're setting yourself up with those positive affirmations all the time. I believe that's a critical piece to it. Start with positive affirmations. Then think about what you can adjust on your eating plan that are small changes. Think what you can do to adjust your physical activity. And then what steps are you going to use to step into loving yourself? I've given you the first one today, vulnerability. Stop hiding. Whenever you're hiding, you're not healing. Whenever you're vulnerable, the great news is you are healing.
Powerful stuff, Mary. Powerful stuff. As we wrap up today, I just want to give, because Mary gave us so many like habits that we can actually put into play, I wanted to recap them just at the end here. So when she was starting to change not just her weight, because it was all inside, right? As it always is, she wrote out a list of her fears. I think that's key. And then when she went to eat something, she would just think, what is happening right now before she started to eat it? And as she said, the key to everything is vulnerability, being honest about those fears, being honest about what's going on for you on the inside. And then when she started to step into actual weight loss, once the brain shifted, then she went into rules or commitments that worked for her. But as she just said, I love that. Adjust small, find, it doesn't really matter where you start on the path, just start on one of the paths. For Mary, the path was don't drink calories, physical every day. But the big overarching is love myself like I have never loved myself before. And that means incredible kindness and grace when you slip up, when you don't act perfectly according to those goals, which I love. And then the biggie, the big habit is let's start tonight. Let's start tonight asking ourselves, how do I feel? How do I feel right now? Mary, wow, that felt like a book. We have a book. Will you tell us about your book and your podcast?
Yes, my book is called Unbounded, From Sorrow to Summit. And so, yes, the stories are mine, but the principles are universal of how to release these fears that have bound us up like cords and holding us tight in our life. And if you have dreams, you cannot find them if you're bound. You cannot experience them. So I walk you through the process of how to unbound those fears from your life and step into your very best version of yourself. My best version today, you can interview me next year, I'll be different. because I'm continually evolving and finding that. So I really think that my book is a great place to start. But my podcast, I now have 273 of them or something like that. And don't necessarily just start at the beginning and listen through to the end. They all have titles, they all have descriptions, and just talk through until you see one. I particularly like the ones that have me as the guest or Kim as the guest. All those are wonderful, and something will speak to you. And then listen. And now they're audio as well as video, and you can find them. Really, it's called Crafting a Meaningful Life, because my name is Mary Crafts. And but the best place to go for all of this is my website, which is marycraftsinc.com. Ink being INC, not INK, because I don't do tattoos. So Mary Crafts, like arts and crafts, not like the cheese. marycraftsinc.com. And I would love to talk to any of you and have any of you reach out to me. And I'm about that right now. My life is filled with mentoring and helping and lifting myself and others. And please note how I said that. I'm lifting myself and others, because where it starts is here. As I lift myself, my ability to lift others just explodes.
Love it. So all the links are wherever you're watching this. All the links are there. Again, go to Mary's website, marycraftsinc.com, for the book and for links to her podcast and everything else she's doing. So powerful, Mary. And it's so fun to interview someone who is at a stage beyond me in life, because the mentorship piece isn't mentioned when you're 35, right? Like when you're 35, you're all about growing yourself, growing your life, but it's so beautiful to listen to someone at almost 70. I want to give you that 69 for as long as I can. Almost 70, saying, no, this is the stage of life that's all about mentoring. So thank you for being a mentor to everyone that's coming behind you. As we wrap things up, reminded that the goal of this podcast is to instill wellness habits, and Mary has given us many today, into your daily life to build a life beyond it's fine. Let's achieve spectacular. Let's achieve joyful. Let's achieve deeply satisfying. And I want to add to that, honest and vulnerable. We have a giveaway from our sponsor, Retreat Works. We've got free live training from yours truly. If you are a life coach, a business coach, or have a wellness business, you can add a high-end retreat to your business and bring in an extra 50K in sales, even if you don't have a following. Go to retreat.works. And just like Mary has a unique URL, my URL is not a .com. It's a retreat.works, and register for a free masterclass. I do them a couple times a month. So they're called 5 days to build a retreat. And I want to invite you to join that if you are a coach or a wellness business owner who wants to learn how to add retreats. Mary, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a favorite of mine. Really, I feel like you could transcribe this and you have a book. So Mary's, yeah, I already wrote it. Go to my website and get it. So thank you to Mary. Thank you to all of our listeners. And thank you in advance for giving us a positive review. Thanks, everyone.